Well, the Buffalo Bills have been very busy since last night. Obviously, signing Joey Bosa and then Larry Obajami. I'm sorry about that. That last name just completely escaped me at this point. But an interior defensive tackle from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then obviously we ended up bringing back Damar Hamlin. And then obviously, okay, why we are streaming right now just so happens to be that the Bills have welcomed a safety to the mix. And that just so happens to be safety Derrick Forrest, formerly on the Washington Commanders. He was drafted back in 2021. And we're going to talk about him and we are going to learn about him. Is he a potential starting free safety for this team? And I got to tell you what, based off of my brief research that I was able to conduct prior to going live, this seems to be the sentiment. A player that had a very encouraging first couple of years in Washington, but then once Dan Quinn ended up taking over, he was virtually phased out of the defense and not quite used to how he was used prior to it. Back, of course, during the previous regime, prior to Dan Quinn, he was one of the best defensive players they had out in that secondary. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but Darrick Forrest and the Washington Commanders secondary for quite some time, especially all of you fantasy football nerds out there, Washington's secondary and defense was typically one of the first defenses taken off of the board. And that had to do exclusively with their secondary. Solid in coverage, very, very good. And Darrick Forrest himself, I keep wanting to call him Derek Brown for some reason, but Darrick Forrest had a hell of a 2022 campaign. And then obviously a fractured shoulder ended up sidelining him for the 2023 season. And in 2024, like we ultimately ended up coming to the conclusion, he was just phased out of said offense. But taking a look at what this guy did in 2022 is something I think that we should be getting pretty damn excited over. Pretty damn excited over right here, folks. Looking at where we are at right now. In 2022, he played 17 games. He started 11, had 4 interceptions, and really was just a killer when it came in to overall coverage, especially deep half, a deep safety, if you will. And I had to scroll back and I had to start to understand exactly what was being said about this safety. And a lot of people are excited about it, including, as I'm sure all of us are aware, with Bruce Nolan. He said this, and definitely check out Bruce's podcast if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so already. But he said, quote unquote, shout out to Bruce Nolan here. He said, I am interested in and intrigued by the Darrick Forrest signing to the Buffalo Bills. A young player who's had some nice moments. Think there's some translatable items from Witt/Quinn defense to McDermott/Babbage. So a Bruce exclusive blessing is pretty damn good for myself. I am not going to lie to you. But then I wanted to scroll a bit deeper and understand who he was as a prospect. Because again, this is all fluff at this point, folks. I can say, started off very strong when drafted into the league. He's only 25 years old, by the way. So something to keep in mind. However, this is what they were saying about him prior to him being selected with the 134th overall pick. And this is from Chris Trapasso. Somewhat lanky, fluid, and fast free safety, and we've needed a free safety, folks, who mostly handled those duties but can rob the middle of the field too. Run alleys as well as any safety in the class and showcased high-quality range from the deep middle to the sideline. Very active, not a complacent safety whatsoever, throws his weight around against the run and is a quality impact tackler, but not a box safety. And that's completely fine because that's exactly where Taylor Rapp likes to and maximizes in his overall game. Fills the final lane and run support. He's not crazy coverage production, but the explosiveness and pure speed is there for him to be useful deep safety who can drive an intermediate routes and make his presence felt against the run. Like, for example, here is just a couple of years ago, Jalen Hurts going deep, super speedy, something to consider. And guys, we needed a free safety, somebody that is fast, somebody that has these ball skills, somebody that can be an absolutely devastating tackler. In fact, I think that we had a clip a bit earlier today. Like, look at this. Look at this. Bang. Right over here. Hard-hitting guy that I genuinely think can fit within a Sean McDermott defense already. So there you have it. Again, another signing for the Buffalo Bills. So far, we have added a wide receiver in Josh Palmer. Then we ended up getting Joey Bosa. Then we ended up getting Michael Hoyt as well. Now we have Derrick Forrest as a safety. And when I'm looking at our overall roster and things of need, as we saw, Ed Oliver ended up restructuring his contract to save a little bit over, I believe it's $10 million in spend. I'm curious to see if we are still kicking the tires at an Asante Samuel Jr. acquisition. Because if that's the case, folks, if we do end up walking away with an Asante Samuel Jr., perhaps, just perhaps, we can just go into this draft and take the best player available regardless, because it sounds like a lot of these holes, at least on a short-term basis, have been filled. Now, keep in mind, all three of these signings that we have seen for the past 24 hours, okay, all have been one-year deals. I have yet to see how much cash or what the specifics are for each and every single one of these deals are, but still something that we can get the most out of. Secondary players, I'm never really worried about them. I don't need to see crazy statistics from previous teams, because I do want to let you know that both Micah Hyde and both Jordan Poyer, prior to coming to Buffalo, weren't necessarily top of the line prospects or weren't top of the line free agents, but coming and being paired in a McDermott system always ended up bringing out the best in them. And from what I'm seeing in Darrick Forrest, obviously we're going to have to wait to see how training camp goes. I think he's our starter. I really, really think he might be our starter, and or he is going to have a very good opportunity of being able to steal that position. Definitely away from Damar Hamlin, okay, at that free safety. I know that people were trying to sort of manifest a Cole Bishop and a Taylor Rapp starting safety tandem, but I think Darrick Forrest is going to give them a run for their money. Solid pickup. Very happy about this. We saw earlier that Ed Oliver has restructured his contract to save the team around $10 million. I think more restructures are coming. Make no mistake about that. But there it is, folks. We have a Darrick Forrest. Let's get into it. Now, folks, I do need to give a giant shout out to our sponsor today, and that just so happens to be Kalshi. Guys, right now, as we know, March Madness is right around the damn corner. You know what I mean? Say, for example, that you want to get in on the action over on Kalshi. All right, folks, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go on ahead and use my link pinned at the top of the chat right now and sign up. I'm giving you a free $10 just for signing up in the first place. You can bet on all sports. Obviously, there are games, as you can see, and you can also end up betting on virtually everything. If you want to bet on politics, if you want to bet on economics, on companies, on financials, on tech, on science, on health, for example, is this a new pandemic this year? Yes or no? Holy hell, I hope not. Definitely go on ahead and check out Kalshi. Link is pinned at the top of the chat. A $10 sign-up bonus, quite simply, just by using my link and signing up right over there, folks. Check out Kalshi. You will not be disappointed. And use promo code DOWNMAFIA for that $10 donation. But, I mean, here we are, folks. Here we are. We have a Darrick Forrest. He is now a new safety for the Buffalo Bills. We have 275 of you on YouTube rocking with me right now, 206 of you on X, 8 of you on Facebook. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. Free agency has been awesome. Love the new group of guys. So I'll be honest with you. I know that all of us kind of had our hearts set on a Myles Garrett and or a Trey Hendrickson, a massive splash. But I do think that we are getting some very quality impact players year one on cheap-ass deals, especially all of the signings today. All of the signings today, like Bosa is an automatic starter for us, and it's only a one-year deal as well. So say, for example, that he does end up like having a paper cut and he's out for 10 games this season. It's only a one-year deal. I still think that we go to the draft and we attempt to find somebody that could be a more long-term answer at the edge rusher position. But Bosa is going to be a massive addition to our rotation on the defensive line. He has proven when healthy, he can be a disruptor. He is also a run defender. Have our defensive tackle in Larry. Good old Larry, bro. He's going to be solid depth right behind Daquan Jones. I still think that we're going to be going after a defensive tackle in the draft in these earlier rounds. Don't be scared of some of these one-year deals. That does not mean it's going to transition our overall thought process when it comes into picking in the draft. And safety in Derrick Forrest. He potentially could be a starter at that position if we elect, all right, to not run with Cole Bishop. And listen, I wanted Julian Blackmon, as many of you guys know, but really at the end of the day, like this Darrick Forrest, hell of a lot cheaper than what Julian Blackmon would have been. Was Darrick the right choice, though? We have only Ken coming in the chat. So I think there's a lot of upside, right? He absolutely balled in 2022. And then in 2023, he was hitting that same trajectory, but he ended up fracturing his shoulder and he had to skip out on the rest of the season. And then in 2024 was a complete coaching shift. And they run an entire defensive scheme than what they did prior to the Dan Quinn days. The defense that Washington ran in 2022 and 2023 is very similar to what the Buffalo Bills currently run as far as a zone coverage scheme. And that's specifically where Darrick Forrest excelled in. So one could assume this has very strong potential in being a breaking news. The Buffalo Bills signed Jordan Poyer 6-7 years ago. That sort of development. Because remember, certain safeties play better in particular schemes. Same thing that could have been said about Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde when those trades were made, or when those acquisitions were made, excuse me. So I think Darrick Forrest has a very good upside of potentially winning the job. But again, this is obviously too soon to say. We will see. Azeez Ojulari is still available, even with other signings, would still be nice. If we are like spending any money right now, or if I am looking at any other acquisition in free agency, I really would like a corner. I really, really, really would like a corner at this point. But I get where you're coming from. Do keep in mind, we do have a draft class that's upcoming as well. And we have 10 picks at this point. So we will see. Could Forrest be the new Jordan Poyer? I mean, listen, I never sleep on McDermott's ability to get the most out of any player that is in his secondary, because that, quite frankly, is his specialty. That and obviously the linebacker room. So I think there's definitely quite a bit to be excited about with this pickup, right? Because if he could make Damar Hamlin play at a serviceable level, which he did, and I know that this is a very unpopular topic, but I feel like you guys are in denial if you cannot admit that Damar surprised you as far as his performance last year. He wasn't world-breaking again, but I think McDermott ended up coaching him up, him and Babich, into a very serviceable sort of corner, or excuse me, a safety. So I have all the faith in the world that this was an absolutely perfect pickup, a perfect pickup. And tomorrow was the worst decision we made so far, with everything else is solid so far. I wouldn't say that was terrible, right? Like, he's back on a 1-year deal, so it doesn't necessarily kill. Trade up for the cornerback. Oh, look at that. We have Dominic. So no corner so far in free agency. Does that mean the Bills might have some trust in Elam? I hope not. For the love of God, I hope not, man. If anything, I feel like that gives you, say that we don't walk away with a corner, I still think we bring somebody in. As much as I want Asante Samuel Jr., I'm just prepping myself for a reunion with Dane Jackson. I am just prepping myself with a reunion of like a Levi Wallace or something. It's, as much as I don't want it to happen, I have a feeling it's going to happen, right? That's kind of where I'm at right now. But I think that does give you a sign that a cornerback is probably going to be one of our number one priorities when it comes into the NFL draft. Dare I say we trade up a little bit for that dog out of Texas, out of the University of Texas, or say we go for Maxwell Harrison. Maybe we roll the dice on Siobhan Rebel. I'm not entirely sure, but it all depends on what the Buffalo Bills do next. And we've obviously been busy. And folks, the free agency period hasn't even begun yet. It has, obviously. It's the legal tampering period. But officially, it starts at 4 p.m. EST. So I'm trying to think of any other breaking news that could potentially be coming in. Troy Dye agrees to return to the Chargers on a 2-year deal. And the Jets agreed to terms with edge Rashad Weaver on a 1-year contract. Trying to see if there's any other news that came in. So the Chargers got Troy Dye, linebacker. He is back. Looks like Cooper Kupp is officially going to be released. Have Marquez Valdez-Scantling signs a 1-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks. So that's all we've seen thus far. Just Derrick Forrest is the latest addition that we have. Love you, Dan. And the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs this year in the playoffs. Scott, and the feeling is mutual, my friend. I love you as well. And my God, I hope so. My God, I hope so. Dan, question. And do you think it's a possibility to get Nick Bosa in a post-June 1st trade because it will only cost San Francisco $13 million in dead cap and save them $7 million? How much would Bosa cost to acquire? I feel like the only way that would happen would be in Madden 25. And respectfully, of course. I think that it would only be in Madden. I don't see San Francisco walking away from that player. Yes, they are saying goodbye to a lot of key pieces, but Nick Bosa to the San Francisco 49ers is the exact same thing that Myles Garrett is to the Cleveland Browns. Like, no matter how bad their franchise gets financially, they're not walking away from him. So he's going to be a San Francisco 49er next year and this year, and likely for the next 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. He's not going anywhere. And did you hear that Samuel being close to signing with the Bills? I don't know how true it is. Some Scott Dickerson guy posted on X. I saw that. I'm not particularly sure if I trust that source. I saw the bidding war. And y'all know that I'm a massive Asante Samuel Jr. kind of guy. I would love that. And I would feel very good about this defense even before the NFL draft. But I'm just not going to get my hopes up. Because like I said, right? In fact, I'm pretty sure I put out a tweet like 3 weeks ago. And I was just like, everybody is obsessed with getting either a Myles Garrett, a Max Crosby, and or a Trey Hendrickson. But let's be honest, it's going to be a 1-year deal to Joey Bosa. Or something like that. And that's exactly what happened. Because so now what I'm like prepping myself for is a Dane Jackson reunion as far as free agency. And that's okay, because that just means that like we'll have to pick an upper echelon corner in the draft with our very first pick. Brandon Bean is cooking. He's certainly busy. Can we keep Cooper and Cook? Chuck Redding comes in with a great question. I don't think that Amari Cooper is going to sign back with us. I think that he's going to go with the team that gives him the most money. If Amari Cooper comes back to the Buffalo Bills, it means that nobody was interested and he's taking a very low contract. I feel like everyone needs to look at the trend of where this team has been going in free agency and this offseason already. We have really been doubling down on locking down youth. This Buffalo Bills team wants to stay as young as humanly possible, right? That's why, like, we signed Bosa. He's 29 years old, right? Same as Myles Garrett. We just ended up bringing in a safety, right? He's 25 years old, right? Like, that's why there's rumors that we're going after Asante Samuel Jr. He's 25 years old. And we extended all of our young guys already. I don't particularly think that we are prioritizing bringing back Amari Cooper. As far as Cook, I don't know. I don't think he's going to get an extension. I think he's still going to be a Buffalo Bill because he's on his final year of his rookie deal. But that's where we're at. I'm just curious, where do you think Diggs and Coop are going to end up? So I think one of the two of them will be a New England Patriot. I think one of the two of them will be. As far as the Diggs, I'm not so sure. Like maybe Dallas. I feel like the Cowboys make a little bit of sense so we can go play with his brother. I feel like that might be something he'd be intrigued with. We have official Ferguson, and I would rather put money in other spots than get Nick Bosa. Oh, man. Okay, so you have Covington. Mr. Covington is coming in. Who would you like the Bills to sign in this free agency class? So I think, like, right now, like, on top of my wish list is, I'd say it's Asante Samuel Jr. He is the dude I'm looking for. But if not, I feel like I want a corner, a CB2, and to see where they're thinking. And do you think the refs were helping the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game? Not so much. Our MVP is drawing in all this talent. Vets want to play on this team. Yes, they do. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me see. Michael is coming on in. So you don't see us getting Asante anymore. Are we done with the free agency already? We genuinely need a good cornerback. Where do you think Cooper Kupp is going? So you don't see getting Asante anymore. I'm just trying to curb my expectations. Right? I feel like that's the safe thing to do. We have Johnny Tran. Dan, can we sign Aaron Rodgers for a backup quarterback? I wouldn't say that. Ryan Reed. If they can grab Samuel Jr., the draft almost becomes a draft, the best player available. Ryan Reed, my guy. Landon Jackson to the Bills in the draft. I would be interested. I would be certainly interested. I'm okay with them trading up to a top corner. Look, Maxwell Hairston, absolute man. He's my dude. Maxwell Hairston. If not, Siobhan Revel is intriguing, but don't be surprised if the Buffalo Bills are now prioritizing a corner in the draft. And then again, I'm not even thinking that it's completely out of the equation that a defensive tackle for the future and or an edge is still high on the specific priority. And bear with me here, guys. I'm just making sure that there's been no other situations. Who would you recommend the Bills to sign in the free agency class? I am definitely saying Asante Samuel Jr. is my go-to. Landon Jackson to the Bills in the draft. And do you think James Cook deserves $15 million a year? So I wouldn't be upset with giving it to him. I just don't think our team is going to this year. I thought Amari Cooper signed with the Chargers. I didn't see that as official. Could be coming in. I don't know, Dan. I feel like we still get Asante, and it will be soon. Trust me, my friend. Hide all the Jergens and the lotion and the tissue because I would be going insane. Bosa's washed, homie. Ryan Stevenson. Like, look, so 1 year deal at $12.5 million. If he can somehow stay healthy and give us his fourth season being fully healthy out of the 8 that he's been in the league, I'm fine with it. I feel like he is a rotational guy. I still feel like we are going to be going to the draft to find some additional help, a more long-term answer, but I'm fine with him regardless, right? I'm fine with him regardless. Let me see. Forrest will be a starter, no doubt here, but let him earn it. Fast, sticky hands, great angles, and can hit like a brick. I mean, look, right? He was phased out of the Washington Commanders defense when Dan Quinn took over. In 2022, he had a hell of a season. And then in 2023, he ended up fracturing his shoulder, which ultimately ended up making him finish out the season on the bench, on the IR. So I think this might be a Jordan Poyer-esque story, right? A guy that the league gave up on, but he just ended up getting married into the correct scheme. I love this for competition purposes. I really do. I feel like the sky is the absolute limit. We have D.A. on the beat. Diggs is going to the Giants. Is that familiar or is that official? Let me see. It's not official. That is you just manifesting. I can feel it. Is it possible to get Will Johnson? So the only way I see that happening is as if the Buffalo Bills trade up within like the top 5. And by maybe top 7, but no, I just don't see us walking away from that. I think that there are a lot of really good corner prospects. And remember, we're not looking for a CB1. We have a CB1 in Christian Benford, and he is going to get CB1 money. It's just a matter of when. Say that I had to guess, we're probably not going to extend Benford and or Cook this offseason because we've gotten our extensions out of the way. But we are looking for a CB2, not a CB1. Bro, we need to sign Benford. I agree with you, Austin. He was my number one priority. But going into this offseason, I feel like we all had to accept the fact that we were going to have to make some very difficult decisions on who was going to be the priority for the Bills. And we ended up taking Bernard. And half of the reason why I think we took Bernard was just because his extension was a hell of a lot cheaper than what Benford's would have been. Then Josh Allen, because his guaranteed money ran out in 2026 anyway, and he was at the point the 15th highest paid QB in the league. So we wanted to lock him down and give him some more cash. And then Greg Rousseau, we had to extend him because otherwise his cap hit would have been $14 million this year. So we had to find some sort of wiggle room to create cash for this upcoming free agency. And then Shakir, I believe, was just an offensive weapon that we wanted to lock down like long term. Like really no sense behind that one. Or an ulterior motive. Friggin' Falco is saying Chiefs opened up 40 plus million in cap space. Who do you think they are going to get? Probably more to the defense, to be honest. Nara, what's up? Go Bills. You called it, Dan. You jinxed us. Joey Bosa, it is. I mean, listen, I was just trying to curb my expectations. That's precisely what I was seeing. 487 of you in here on YouTube. Do me a favor, smash that like button for me. Easiest way to show some love. I think that there's no reason why we can't get up to 300 likes while we're live here. Guys, once I am done with this stream, I want you to head on over to Roundtable Sports because I am a part of a show called Fourth and Forever. It is our daily NFL news show where myself, Richie, and TD Finns chop it up about everything that is happening around the league. So if you can, I feel like you can, first go on ahead and subscribe to Roundtable Sports. All right? And would love for each and every single one of you to come over there and join me. Here is the trailer.
Welcome to Fourth and Forever here on Roundtable Sports Network, your favorite NFL midday show, live weekdays at 2 p.m. EST, featuring Dan Mitchell, Richie Malora, and Tony Dow, covering all things NFL all offseason long.
There you go, baby. There you go. We are starting in about 14 minutes. I hope that I get to see everybody in here that's rocking with me today. We're going to be unpacking everything NFL related. And I want Bills fans to be in there really representing. We will be sneaky good. Bean is balling. He certainly is. The $10 million restructure on Dawkins. And so you think that that was for the moves we already made or to maybe make one or two more moves. So I think you meant Ed Oliver, not unless Dawkins was just restructured as well. Fucking dude. So I think where we're at right now, probably one more move. But I think another 1-year deal or maybe a 2-year. If you live in the Buffalo area, have a Bills jersey and can play DB, be at the facility tomorrow. Randy PQ. Oh my God. Ward. Dan, howdy. It's been a while. And what everybody remembers you won't know who's really going to be on the team until it's game time. Way too many trades and deals to come. Ward, absolutely, man. I really hope all has been well on your end, and I'm glad that you are back. We have, okay, so the Izzy 1K. And so our front four is looking nasty, but I think the new guys add versatility. I think we can definitely run 3-3 odds set with these guys. Intriguing. Don't we have like 12 draft picks? Also need to sign Benford ASAP. Yeah, dude. So with those 2 compensatory picks, we are absolutely loaded walking into the NFL draft. Glad some of these free agents are coming from the Chargers. They all hate the Kansas City Chiefs. And 2 Canadians, by the way, as well. Hamlin had some great plays last year. I'm glad they kept him. Why not? Dude, shout out to the ladies in the chat, right? So I normally run my analytics, and it's 95% dudes that come in here. But shout out to the ladies. Guys, spam the all right, listen. Spam ones for the ladies in the chat. Spam W ladies in the chat for our small yet mighty community that comes in here and hangs out with me all the damn time. Jake is saying we need a corner. I agree with you. Spam W ladies in the chat. Let's go. Come on. Come on, man. Let's get this, though. We got Deshaun. Since the Bills signed Bosa and Bills are more than likely to draft a defensive end, and do you believe that the Bills will use A.J. Epinesa as a trade up in the draft? That's an interesting take. It could happen. I would not be shocked if that was the case, right? Because we're getting pretty damn crowded over there. I'm telling you, Dan, CB round 1. I mean, it's looking more and more like that, Dwayne. Hello, ladies. Dude, spam W ladies in the chat. All right. Listen, we appreciate all the women that tune in on this show. Hello, Dan. Bella. Look at that. Look at that, man. 5% audience of the ladies, man. Some say it's the largest representation in all Bills streamers' representations. All right. Some say. All right. It's the largest lady community on Bills internet right here on the Dan Mitchell channel. Look at that. How do you feel about the Bills restructuring Ed Oliver's contract? Solid, right? So it had to be done. I don't think that's the last restructure either. There are a couple of players that I think that we will end up doing it to. I still think Deion Dawkins is going to be done. I do think Curtis Samuels is going to get done. I think Matt Milano's might get redone as well. A couple of other moves that could come on in. Trade Cook for draft capital, and do we expect him to hold out? I don't think he'll hold out for the entire season. Maybe he might scare us during trading camp, but it's not like he's already had a big contract where he can hold out, right? So I don't necessarily think that it helps him to hold out at this point. This year's free agency as a Bills fan versus last year is so much different. It certainly is. Bean loves the gamble, love the guy, and people who dump on him are absolutely clueless. Matthew, Dan, beat up Tyler T Sports. Oh, Dan, that dude behind you looks pissed. You might want to fight him. Oh, man. Oh. Love that. Love that. And don't we have a CB2 in Johnson? And so I wouldn't mind Asante Samuel Jr. I would be thrilled with Asante Samuel Jr. Dan, and so you think there's a chance the Pats can take the division this year? We are drafting Hunter. So I have the Patriots making the playoffs and getting a wild card berth, but I do not have you taking the division. No, I do not have you taking the division. Dan Thirst Trap. Look at that. Look at that, baby. Talk to me. All right, Richard. Taron Johnson is nickel. Yes, he is. Trade Cook to a team with no offensive line and see what happens. No, keep Johnson away from the CB2 position. Different set of skills. He is perfect where he plays. Yeah, he doesn't really have the size for a perimeter corner either. That's one of the issues. I still think the Bills will win the AFC East, and by a landslide. Dan's the funniest guy. Thank you so much, Matthew. I appreciate that, bro. Who is going to replace Cook's production? It doesn't work like that. Just get rid of people, and you think you can replace them like the same production grows on trees. So the thing is that prior to James Cook, like, we didn't have a run game dating back all the way to the Obama administration. Like, we couldn't run the ball to save our fucking life, right? So I think recency bias certainly gets things. Michael Pierce retired. He did. That was official. Pats won't be 500. Maybe next year, sophomore jinx for May. I'm a bit higher on the Pats than I think a lot of people are. And so I want to see the Raiders make the playoffs for once. Stephen MC, open in for it. Buffalo's going to draft cornerback Will Johnson from Michigan. Ugh, man. And so I suppose I wouldn't be upset, right? I suppose I wouldn't be upset about it. But then again, I feel like we already have a CB1, and I feel like we're trying to draft a CB2. In Benford is CB1. I'm just waiting for that dude to get a damn contract extension. And Patriots are just Madden building at this point. I mean, when you have all that damn money, let Gore Jr. eat a Jaden Daniels sophomore slump. Dan, and do you think the Bills would have a similar season to last year and make it back to the AFC Championship and potentially make a Super Bowl? Talk to me after the draft. Talk to me after the draft, and I will have a good answer for you. Bills will be fine. Cook will stay with the Bills. It will all work itself out. That is exactly what I am thinking as well. All right, guys. So your boy is about to hop on over to Fourth and Forever. Highly recommend you come on over and you check it out for me. It's live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. EST. We are going to be unpacking all of the NFL news that has been gracing your screens, folks. Head on over to Roundtable Sports. This is the channel right here. Roundtable Sports. In fact, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to put it in the chat. And if you guys can go on ahead and just go subscribe over there, tune on in. We are going to be unpacking all of the NFL news that is happening in the league. We're starting in about 7 to 8 minutes. I can't wait to see you guys over here. And let's see what Dwayne had to say. Per our friends over at Over the Cap, and the Bills have restructured Ed Oliver's contract to $10.6 million on the 2025 cap, spreading the money out through the remainder of his deal, plus 2 void years. Added some void years there, baby. I'm all right with that. Worried about Benford's health? And so it was more of a concussion. Hopefully he doesn't say that. So I'm not sure why people are hyping up Drake May. He won one effing game. He was a turnover nightmare. I mean, so was Josh Allen for the, and for the first 2 years. I just subscribed, Magneto. All right, man. We're excited about all of this. All right, guys. I'm about to go on ahead and hop over on Roundtable Sports Fourth and Forever. I hope that I see the vast majority of you over there. Again, certainly go check out Kalshi. It is the #1 prediction market on the face of the planet. Bet on literally everything. Politics, weather, tech, science, and sports. March Madness is right around the corner, and I'm giving you a free $10 just for signing up so you can place your very first. You know what I'm saying. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you later.